Hello. Well, today there are no cycling videos, no vinyl unboxing, and nothing to do with music. In fact, I'm recently back from a 2-week trip to England, and on this return journey I took my 2 teenage daughters with me. The last time they were in England they were aged 18 months and 3 years, and they have little or no memory of that trip. I've been threatening to do this for them for some while now, and finally I got round to it this year. It took quite a bit of organising and forward planning, but we made it. We did everything we wanted to do, and now we're all home safe and sound. So what happened? We caught a flight from Charlottetown Airport to Toronto Pearson, which is about 2.5 to 3 hours. There we boarded a connecting flight to London Heathrow, which was about 6.5 to 7 hours. It was actually slightly delayed because there was a problem with the aircraft at first. It meant that we landed in London about 1.5 hours behind schedule. We collected our 2 large suitcases and found our way through border control, which is all totally automated these days. I'd arranged our travel visas, which is a new requirement, well in advance, and those are electronically stored. So when you scan your passport at border control, it double checks that you have the correct visa registered, which we did, and we were waved right on through. Next we found the bus stop from which we could take a free shuttle bus to the car rental office, which was based in a Holiday Inn on the northern fringes of Heathrow Airport, which incidentally is about 45 square miles in size. We picked up the car with no fuss. I'd already prepaid a big deposit, and although they tried to upsell me a no deductible insurance, I declined that, and we were soon on our way. The girls found it most strange driving on the right-hand side of the road. I did too a bit, but I have driven on the right, probably for the best part of 30 years, so it came back to me quite quickly. We were held up on the motorway due to a series of traffic collisions, and we made very poor time around the M25, which is the ring road around London. And the idea was I wanted to approach London from the south, avoiding any possibility of congestion charges or tolls. Luckily the car which they gave us, a Nissan Qashqai, had GPS on board, or as they say in England, sat-nav, satellite navigation, and we found our way without any difficulty to the South Wimbledon area, to a Premier Inn which I'd pre-booked and checked in. I took my cell phone with me and paid a fee of $50 to have roaming for 2 weeks, which actually covered the whole of Europe. In the past I've taken a different phone, one with a SIM drawer, and bought a local SIM, but I didn't want complications to arise from logging onto a bank and them sending me verification texts to my known phone number and me not receiving them. So this seemed a much better way of doing things. This is a poster map of the London Underground network, known locally as the Tube, and our first hotel was close to the station of Collier's Wood, so that's where we boarded the trains every day. and followed our way up on the Northern Line into central London, where we could reach all our chosen destinations. The following morning we walked to Collier's Wood underground train station, and I bought us 3 Oyster cards, which are the travel cards you use to get in and out of the underground stations. I preloaded them with £20 of travel allowance each. That proved to be not quite enough, and I had to top them up twice with £5 each time later in the stay. So in London we visited the National Gallery, Trafalgar Square, St Martin's in the Fields Church. The same day we visited Covent Garden Indoor Market, where the girls bought several souvenirs and trinkets, and I picked up a couple of things to bring home. Eating was often by way of a supermarket meal deal, and throughout the capital there are express versions of the major supermarkets. So they don't carry a wide stock of things, but stuff workers might need during the day. So you could get a sandwich, a bag of chips and a drink for usually about £4, which is something in the order of 6 or 7 Canadian dollars. Often that wasn't enough for the girls, and they needed a full breakfast before we left for the day, and certainly a big meal at the end of the day. I'd forgotten just how much teenagers eat. I could get through the whole day with just 2 meals, but they couldn't. Despite using the tube to get around, we did walk an awful lot. Kathleen has a step counter on her Fitbit and proudly announced that we did around 21,000 steps on at least 2 of our days. No wonder we were so tired at the end of each day. Our room was a family room, so there was a double bed which the girls had, and a single or twin which I had. On another day we travelled to South Kensington and visited the Natural History Museum and the Victoria and Albert Museum. Those were full, busy days. On our final day we took the tube north to Camden Town, where there's quite a vibrant, almost bohemian community with a lot of small gift shops and arts and crafts going on. From there we walked along the Regent's Canal towpath to London Zoo and spent half a day wandering around the zoo, which the girls absolutely loved. After that we travelled back to central London and got off at Embankment, where you have great views of the River Thames and the London Eye, which is the large 450-foot Ferris wheel, which there's no way you'd get me on. Mostly I used my phone for Google Maps and getting around London and other places where I was less familiar with the roads. But I still took my old trusty London tourist map with its handy miniaturised version of the London Underground, and that came in useful, particularly when battery was running very low on my phone. From there we walked past the Houses of Parliament and took the obligatory photos under the Big Ben clock tower, and on to Buckingham Palace. We also found time to call in at a couple of vinyl record shops, although I didn't find anything of interest to me. Kathleen picked up a couple of CDs. A couple of our nights at the Premier Inn were disrupted by loud music. Right next door to us was a David Lloyd gym, and there was pounding techno beats coming from there right into the very small hours of the morning, and they resumed again at between 5:30 and 6 a.m. Quite frustrating, and I wish I'd known about that, but what can you do? On our final morning we checked out and jumped in the car to drive southwards to the county of Hampshire, where I had another Premier Inn room booked in Ferndown, which is close to my sister and within easy striking distance of both my sons, Matt and Mike. So for the next 10 days we were driving around the south coast, where we called in at Bournemouth and on several occasions stopped in the New Forest, which is a national park covering about 450 square miles. It's a mixture of broadleaf and conifer trees with plenty of open moorland and heather in between. There are animals roaming free: cows, horses, donkeys, and at the right time of the year even pigs that eat the acorns, which are poisonous to everything else. We were just late enough to see some newborn foals, which of course looked extremely cute. One day we drove to Stonehenge, the world famous monolithic monument, and met my cousin Bernard and his wife Jo. The girls were quickly bored by the stones, and I don't blame them. Once you've seen them, you've seen them, and there's not much more to say about them. The next day we met two very good friends of mine from my banking days. They were customers actually, and run an amazingly successful horticultural planning business. They took us to a local pub and restaurant called the Empress of Blandings, and it was great to meet them again and introduce them to my daughters. A couple of times we were out for meals at local curry restaurants in Ringwood and in Lymington. We visited my son Mike and his wife Fee. We visited my son Matt and his wife Janine and his two sons, Oscar and Alfie, and her son Sam. One evening we called in at my brother's house, Chris, and his wife Nikki. I was pleased to see that all three of his children were there: Ashley, Owen and Thea. And Thea has recently had a baby, so there was a little 5-month-old there to entertain my daughters. Ashley's girlfriend was there. I think her name was Laura. She was great fun, and she insisted that I recount tales from Chris's and my youth in an attempt to embarrass him, so I duly did. On that note, Matt and Mike were ribbing and teasing me something rotten in front of the girls, telling them all the crazy things I used to get up to with them, and I think it enabled them to see a whole different side of me. But the good thing was they enjoyed meeting everybody, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed meeting them. Our final full day we drove to the city of Bath, an ancient Roman spa town, and parked on the outskirts and used the local park and ride system, where you pay a single fee to park your car. Not very much, I think it was about £6, and that also included 3 bus tickets into the town centre and back, so it avoids a lot of congestion in a small market town that wasn't built for the kind of traffic we get these days. I'm looking out the window here, and luckily all the snow has finally gone, but the temperatures here are still low and the trees are all just a bundle of grey sticks. In England we reached 20 degrees Celsius on a couple of days and the trees were in full leaf, so it just shows you how far behind our season here is in Atlantic Canada. Anyway, that's my story from my last couple of weeks. Have a great day.